Hello, chickens. This is the fabulous Adam Richard, and I have a theory.
Oh, hello, chickens. I've just watched The Feast of Stephen, the loose cannon reconstruction. I think it's a second one. I think they've done another one before. Maybe this is the only one they did. I don't remember. It's chaotic. I know it's a Christmas episode and they generally are quite chaotic, but this is wild. So it's in two parts, because, episodes in those days were kind of recorded in two halves. Like they recorded all the first bit and then there would be like a little fade to black and they would go and do whatever they did, have lunch. And then they would come back and record the second half. So yeah, most Doctor Who episodes of these days come in 15-minute chunks if they're all kind of studio bound. If there's film inserts, that also kind of like happened almost like live. I think they played them in live and then tried to balance it out. That is the only way to do things to time because you couldn't really edit on videotape. It was a problem. So the first half is some weird kind of northern police drama comedy. The whole episode is comedic. Like it is a very silly episode and it's so kind of like noisy and cacophonous. I presume there's a lot of physical comedy going on that we are not really privy to, given that all we're watching is still photos because the episode was lost. Apparently this was the first one ever deleted. Almost a week later, they just were like, yeah, we're done with that. It was on. It can go. So yeah, I don't know if this even made it into overseas sales or anything. It might have just been a BBC only kind of deal. I don't know for sure. Someone does because people know everything about Doctor Who. It's been studied more than, well, anything really. As far as pop culture goes, it's had a lot of study. Like there's a lot of intense academic study on Doctor Who. There's heaps of stuff and just, nerds of spreadsheets all over the joint. So someone will know for sure, not me. I mean, I can find out, but, I'm in Geelong. I don't have my books here. I mean, I could look on the internet, but I'm using all my internet things to make this podcast, so it's difficult. Because my computer died. I had to go to the shop that I bought it from and gave them, and feel free to do this yourself. I gave them the full, it's 2.5 years old. I understand it is out of warranty, but I expect more than 2.5 years for a computer that cost this much money. It was a significant amount of money. Like it wasn't like a $300 Chromebook, which I'm still using. That one never broke. That still goes. But this gigantic, expensive Windows machine just went. It didn't make that noise, but the hard drive died. What is it, Nala? You're wagging your tail at me. Yes, hello, girl. Sorry, dog time. She's very strange. She just comes up out of nowhere. And you can sometimes see her if you're watching this on the YouTube or on Patreon, you might be able to see her in the background. But yes, so I took the computer back to the shop from whence it was purchased. And they're like, oh, yeah, if it needs to be fixed, you'll have to pay for it. And I'm like, I don't have to pay for it under Australian consumer law, because under Australian consumer law, you have whatever amount of time you believe you deserve to get out of how much you paid for it. And if you're spending a couple of grand on a computer, that's more than 2 years, frankly, if you ask me. Anyway, so a manager came and said, yep, you're right. We'll send it off. Anyway, I checked on their thing and they haven't sent it yet. It's meant to be going off to the company that made it. You think you're getting good stuff and it's never good. Yeah. You know the old saying, you get what you pay for? You get nothing anyway, even if you pay a lot of money. I paid nothing for that little Chromebook. It goes forever. Anyway, this isn't Chromebook chat. It's Doctor Who chat. So Feast of Stephen, the first half it's very kind of Coronation Street. I think it's meant to be a pastiche of, there was a show that was quite popular before Doctor Who started, called Dixon of Dock Green. I haven't seen it, but there's little references I didn't really understand that I guess meant something at the time, like the Doctor says, "Oh, you look very familiar." Oh, that's right, the Bazaar at Jafar. Or Jaffa or whatever he calls it, which I'm guessing maybe it's the same actor that was in the Crusades, and it's like a little bit of a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. There's a lot of very, like some of the dialogue in this is very funny, the back and forth sort of, bumping things, the back and forth kind of, oh, what's going on here? Like, they were, who is, what is, he is, she is, but, all that kind of business, which was making me laugh, even though I couldn't really see what was going on. But also they'd done some really fun editing in the reconstruction I watched to go along with the rapid fire dialogue. And then there's the bit where the Doctor's asking Stephen why he's doing that accent. He's like, I don't know, everyone else is doing it. Which I found very adorable. So yeah, it's a very silly first half, and then the second half is in the silent era of films, and the reconstruction uses like that effect where you've got the writing on the screen like they had in the old days, like the captions in silent films. But there's a bit of music that goes with it. So I'm presuming that was in the camera script because they're basing their reconstructions off the camera scripts. There is a great, if you want to know how good these reconstructions are, lovely Josh Snares in Adelaide, who does some amazing YouTube videos. He's actually done a reconstruction of the Daleks Masterplan himself that you can find. But he has a great comparison between the original loose cannon reconstruction and the recently found episodes, and just how closely they really came to kind of, interpreting what the camera script said with what Douglas Camfield eventually shot. But also it's really lovely in the way it points out how Douglas Camfield's shot choice was really clever and amazing in those episodes that have since been found. Because I've got to say, like, I still can't stop thinking about that match shot. That match cut from the light, from Brett Vine's light to the light in the room where they're talking. And that light later on in that scene is really important. So obviously that light was, it was foreshadowing that kind of match cut, which is the kind of thing we only really see in, really high-end shows now. Like they do it a lot in Pluribus. I know Vince Gilligan's fond of that kind of thing. Better Call Saul, they used to do it a lot. Like there'd be really fascinating match cuts because they're really hard to do unless you're using, CGI and all that kind of stuff. But to do them like in camera is a really difficult, and also you have to have a reason for doing it. You don't just do it because it's fun. Like, you don't just do a single shot because it's fun. That's another one of the things that Josh Snares puts into perspective is, there's one of the shots in, I think it's episode 1, maybe 3, where it's just, in the reconstruction, it's just Dalek talking. And in the actual version, it's a single shot that follows one Dalek around, and you get everything from that Dalek's point of view. And it's really fascinating. Anyway, so the second half is just like, it's so loud and there's lots of voices happening in the Feast of Stephen, and it becomes a little bit too confusing. And I'm like, I bet because it's silent film, there's a lot of really fun physical comedy going on that we can't see. That's probably not even really in the camera script, but they're just doing it anyway because that's the vibe on the set. So I imagine there's a lot of wacky acting and fun overplaying, and the woman's makeup is so ridiculous in the couple of shots that do exist. Like she's obviously had that 20s style heavy eye makeup, and then she's cried it all down, so she's just got streams of black all over her face. And then at the very end of the episode, the Doctor turns to the camera. They're celebrating Christmas because they said it in the police segment that it was Christmas. And so the Doctor has a Merry Christmas toast. They're all having champagne in the TARDIS. And the Doctor turns to the camera and says, "A Merry Christmas to you at home." So I'm guessing that all of that stuff in the Ncuti Gatwa era, where we're hearing the theme song, where Mrs. Flood is talking to the audience through the screen, like whenever that stuff's happening, there is a precedent for it in the show. Like the Doctor once spoke to the camera, so maybe that dimension where the Doctor turns up and there's the fans and they turn out to be real, maybe these dimensions exist, and this Doctor can see into that dimension briefly that he's being watched and doesn't always know. I don't know. It's a half-baked theory, but we've got a precedent for all our fourth wall breaking. I'm quite excited about this. All right, let's head on into episode 8. It's a volcano.